This is Right on the Money with Tom Mosley, founder of Mosley Wealth Management.
Our mission at Mosley Wealth Management is to help people make sure they never run out of income the rest of their life and they pay as little as they're legally required to pay in taxes.
Since 1995, Tom Mosley and his team have been creating comprehensive, custom financial plans to help you preserve what you've earned and pursue what you've envisioned.
In retirement, a lot of people have built a great lump sum. We call that your lumber yard. But you need a blueprint to put that lumber yard into a plan that you can build a retirement house to live in.
What's on your mind this week, Southern California? The stock market, taxes, inflation, income, Social Security, how to ease into the life of your dreams? Let's discover conservative financial strategies starting right now. This is your Right on the Money Radio Hour with Tom Mosley.
And a very happy weekend to you. You are listening to Right on the Money with Tom Mosley. He is the founder and president of Mosley Wealth Management based right here in Southern California. And I'm your host, Kristin Oakley. Tom and I love being with each and every one of you. Each weekend, we are committed to providing you with retirement planning solutions. And Tom, I am so excited to have this conversation with you today. We are going to be talking about what do you do if you want to retire now, or if you're forced to retire now. So if you find yourself in any one of those situations, or if you want to be prepared in case you face one of those situations, this show is for you. Tom, my friend, great to be with you. How are you this weekend?
I am doing wonderful, and I hope you are, and I hope everybody who's listening is doing well. We do have a good show. It is a very practical show because everybody's got a time when they think they're going to retire. I mean, you've got that target, but all of a sudden, either by force or by choice is the way we're going to sort of divide the show up today. By force, I mean, it just comes on you. Let me give you a story about that. Kristin, I've had a client, and they've been with me now for about 5 years. I remember very distinctly. I was talking to them on the phone when I was at my daughter's graduation at the University of Oregon in June of 2019. So that's the time that they were coming on. And I remember their story was, we're going to retire in 10 years when we approach 70. Because they were just turning 60. A lot of people, a lot of you out there are just finally waking up right now and say, hey, I need to do some retirement planning, and maybe I need to get some professional help. I need a professional advisor. So you turn 60, you think, oh gosh, what am I going to do? I've never done this before. You're smart, you're thinking the right way, but that's the first time you've thought about it. These people were just like you. Okay. And they call me up. We set up a plan for them. This was a 10-year plan that they were going to build out. The kids were out of the house. The student loans or the college payments were all behind them. The house was paid off. So they were really in like the finish lane. I mean, they were just going like crazy to the finish line of their own retirement, saving money like crazy. And they call me. We had an annual review about 6 months ago, and they called me and they said, Tom, we need to meet. And they didn't tell me what it was about, but I could tell by the seriousness they needed to meet. They came in and he came in with a cane and they said, here's the deal. We were both going to work 10 years when we came to you, but he has had 2 massive heart attacks and can't work anymore. And I just got laid off from my dream job that I was going to have until I was 70, for the next 5 years. And we need to retire now. So when I'm talking about it's being forced on you, that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about it comes out of the clear blue. You knew it was coming, but you just didn't know it was coming today. And a lot of people are in that situation, Kristin.
Yeah, it's happening a lot more frequently. And a couple of things I think are so beautiful about that story that I want to point out is, one, they had done the work ahead of time. They had done a plan with you so that when life did happen, they knew where to turn to make the necessary adjustments. And I love that you were one of the first people that they called. I mean, I think that is so much of what a financial advisor, when it's the right relationship, can do for someone, is when the crisis happens, you have that person to pick up the phone and call who is going to be in your corner and help you navigate through that. So what a powerful story.
Yeah, and the crisis does come. Many times I've been called I remember particular incident about maybe 6 years ago where a gentleman called me and he said, I just walked out with a box and I've got
Mhm.
all of my stuff from 21 years of being employed in the car here with me. They laid me off today. I haven't told my wife yet. I
Mhm.
wanted to call you first and just
Mhm.
make sure we're going to be okay. Now,
Mhm.
you need somebody to call at that time who can tell you financially you're going to be okay. So you're
Yeah.
absolutely right.
Yeah.
Pre-planning that forced retirement or that situation that forces you to retire,
Mhm.
that's key. And Kristen, there are lots of things that happen. This was a health issue.
Mhm.
You know, uh, it's a disability, it's a sudden health crisis, something like that comes along, and you just don't have the ability to work anymore to carry out. I had a client recently who had a stroke, and she was
Mm.
working, and bingo, her employment is done. Now, fortunately, she's well off, and we were just holding off on tapping into her IRA and to some of the guaranteed income annuities that we've got set up for her. But guess what? That annuity got turned on because
Mhm.
she now needs income because physically, from a health standpoint, she can't go anymore. She can't
Right.
work anymore.
Mhm.
And it might not be you.
Right, I was
Um,
gonna say, it could also be someone that you're caring for, like an aging parent, for example.
An aging parent. I've told the story on this radio show of a client we now have and we're helping. She's 51 now, but she came to me when she was 50. And a lot of times you guys might think, well, I don't have any money. You guys can't really help me. Listen, if you're 50 and you don't have any money, we need to help you. We need to
Mhm.
jump in there and help. And she listened to the show. She called in, she came in, and she was caregiving. She was caregiving for her mom and dad because she said, none of my brothers and sisters would do it. I had to end my career when I was 36 and take care of my mom and dad for 14 years. And we spent all of their money in taking care. So there's no inheritance. So there's no money after taking care of them for 14 years. So bingo, here we are. And
Mhm.
I'm 50 and I don't have any money. Well, guess what? She does now because we're working on a plan and she's got a great job and she's moving on. But the health issue may not be yours. It may be
Mhm.
somebody else's.
Yep.
We've talked about the job loss. I
Which is happening a lot right now for people. I think that it can be confusing when the news is touting, "Oh, we've got really low unemployment." And that's not what I'm seeing, right?
Yeah, I mean, even just last month or the first of this month, the job gains were really, really low, and that day the stock market just went into the dumpster. I mean, it
Mhm.
because jobs are important, and here's the way it works: if people are looking for a job and there's only 114,000 job gains in a month, there needs to be about 275 to 350, 275,000 to 350. Then everybody gets scared because people quit looking. And if people are not hiring, that means also sometimes they are, don't call it firing, they're laying off, they're
Mhm.
downsizing, they're doing whatever that you want to call it. It
Right.
still feels like you got fired, but you
Yeah.
lose your job, like the lady I said in the first illustration.
Mhm.
And some of that, Kristen, comes from age discrimination because
Yes.
I tell the story in my retirement master class. So if you ever take that class, and you can go to our website and see all of our classes at Mosley Wealth Management, Mosley Wealth Management, you can see where we're teaching. Well, if you see a retirement master class, you're going to see us telling that story, the story of my grandfather. I mean, when he turned 65, they gave him a pension, they gave him a party, and they gave him a gold watch.
Mhm.
Okay. When you turn 60 now or 50 now, they give you an invisible t-shirt and it's got a target on the back so that when they do have a right size, downsize, layoff, whatever you want to call it, they look for those of us who are older to lay off.
Yep.
So those are situations where your money situation, your financial situation, your retirement situation can turn on a dime.
Yep,
Okay.
it really can. And this is happening, I think sometimes with age discrimination, people think, oh, it might only happen to people in their 60s or whatnot. When I was laid off during the height of COVID in my previous place of employment, they issued out a document that showed everyone who'd been laid off over the age of 40, and it was 3 pages long. They
Yep.
have to prove that
Yep.
legally. And it's interesting. So, yeah, I mean, this is happening to people even in the middle of their working careers or even before they hit the middle of their working careers too.
Right. Trust me, they do it. They lay off the older workers. Trust me, they know how to do it so they don't get sued. So
Yeah.
you got to be really careful. So, let's talk about really some other things and then give you some solutions. You could get a windfall and
Mhm.
decide you could win the lottery. All these people say if I won, I'd still go to work. Well, most people
Would you?
don't. Yeah.
Right.
And you're tired of your job.
Mhm.
So many people come in and say, my company sold. I work for a boss I don't like, for a company I don't like now, with people I don't like, and I'm not doing
And
it
I'm
anymore.
over it. Yeah,
Right.
I hear that phrase a lot. I'm over it. Yeah.
Stress,
Mhm.
burnout, all kind of things can cause that to happen.
Yeah.
Well, here's one more. You get an incentive offer to retire from your employer. Be
Mm.
really careful, because a lot of times companies are notorious for giving you an incentive offer, and then you decide not to take it because you want to work a little while longer. And 2 weeks, one time, a guy came in and said, I had an incentive offer until 2 weeks ago. I did not take it. And they laid me off 2 weeks later
Oh my
because they're
gosh.
trying to downsize.
Right, right.
And I'm not saying that every company is gonna do that, but if they're trying to downsize and you're in that situation, you might wanna really consider that incentive offer, or at least consider the option or the fact or the possibility that in 2 weeks you might be laid off. So here's what I want you to do if you do get laid off like that. Number 1, take a breath, okay?
Mhm.
They can't eat you. All right. I got a buddy, Mark Sparks, who wrote a book called They Can't Eat You. Okay.
Mhm.
So just settle down. And it's so important at that time when you're like a deer in the headlights where you just got hit by the car and you don't know what to do. It's so important to get another set of professional eyes. What are you going to do with your 401k you have at that company? What are you going to do to cover your health insurance? What are you going to do to find another job? What are you going to do for life insurance? You may have had cancer or a heart attack and you've got a portable. That means you can take it with you, life insurance policy. And what are you going to do for income? You need to be like John Wooden said in his book, be quick to make some decisions, but don't hurry in making them, and make the right ones. That's where we stand ready to help you if you've been hit by that car of layoff, unemployment, or no job anymore. But you've got to call us if we're going to help you.
And that's the beauty of having a retirement blueprint. You may not know what's coming down the pike for you, but if anything that we're saying today is resonating with you, if you're concerned about possibly needing to retire by force, or if you're really excited about retiring by choice, having this solid plan in place can make all the difference in helping you make that transition smoothly. For your complimentary retirement blueprint, all you need to do is call 888-930-5609. We've got a lot more to cover on today's show. Stay with us. We'll be back right after this. Do you know how you'll generate income from your investments along with your Social Security in retirement? In our opinion, it's never too early to start the income planning process for your future. An income plan can help you work towards creating a steady stream of income to support you throughout your retirement years. Don't leave your financial future to chance. Take control today and start income planning for your retirement. Call the team at Mosley Wealth Management so we can help you design a complimentary written income plan to help you live the retirement you've always wanted. Call 888-930-5609. That's 888-930-5609.
For your own no-cost retirement blueprint, call Tom Mosley of Mosley Wealth Management, 888-930-5609. That's 888-930-5609.
Welcome back to Right on the Money with Tom Mosley. I'm your host, Kristin Oakley, and today Tom and I are talking about making sure you are prepared for retirement. In the last segment, we talked about what happens if you're retired by force. That's happening to a lot of folks these days. But we want to shift gears now and talk about retiring by choice. What if you want to retire now or sooner than you originally thought that you would? There's so many benefits to doing so. And Tom, I know that you have this conversation a lot with folks in your office. I'm sure a lot of people, when they come to meet with you, they're ready to retire, they want to retire, and they're going, hey, can I go ahead and pull the trigger on this? Can I go ahead and actually do it?
Right. I mean, there's a series of questions there, okay? And people generally come in, and here's the story, Kristen. The story is, I watched my mom, I watched my dad, you fill in the blank. I watched my wife's dad, my wife's mom. They worked until they could absolutely not work another day. And then when they retired, they were broken down physically. They didn't feel like doing anything. I'm not going to make that mistake. I'm going to retire early. I'm going to retire on my own terms, and I'm going to retire by choice. Well,
Mm,
let me tell you something. That's the plan I like. It was a little
right.
gloom. It was a little gloomy in that first section. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But gloomy, I'm
It's
not here.
reality, you know?
Yeah, I'm not
Yep.
here to be your little league parent, if you understand. That's okay. You missed that pitch by 3 feet, but you're good, and I'm not here to tell you that. I'm here to tell you when you come in and you ask that question you just asked, Kristen, can I afford to retire now? That's the big question people have. And what it means is, if I retire now, will I have enough income? Will that income last as long as I do? We talked about
Mhm.
last week on the show running out of money in retirement. It's really something you want to guard against. And what it means is, will it last as long as I live and as long as my spouse survives me if you are married? If you're single, it's just
Mhm.
you. But those are the questions, and retiring by choice can be done, but you really need a plan. If you're going
Mhm.
to retire early, if you're going to pull the string, and you're not standing there on the cliff with one foot in your back somebody's about to push you off the cliff, but you're jumping off the cliff, okay?
Right. Yep.
You're saying, I'm going to retire. There are a lot of good reasons to do it. There are
Yeah.
so many good
Let's
reasons.
talk about there's a lot of uplifting and encouraging reasons to consider an early retirement or maybe retiring earlier than you originally thought that you would. So let's talk about those.
Well, I divide retirement into 3 stages. We haven't talked about that in a while on the show.
Mhm.
There's the go-go stage, and like the people who come in and say, my parents or my wife's parents, my husband's parents, they worked until they couldn't go anymore, and then they couldn't go anymore. They
Right.
couldn't go and enjoy retirement. So the go-go stage is when you're still healthy and you've got money, you've got the desire to go places, you wanna go see Europe, your legs and feet can handle the cobblestones and the
Right.
narrow streets and the walking that you do in Europe. It's great. It's fabulous. That's the go-go stage.
Mhm.
But before you know it, and especially if you're going through retirement with someone, a spouse, a partner, a good friend, and somebody goes into the slow go stage where you go to the doctor and you just don't feel like going as actively anymore, and you slow down, you pace yourself, you still go. That's
Mhm.
called the slow go stage. And then if God gives you a long time on this earth, you slip into the no go stage where you've
Mhm.
gone from the go go stage to the slow go stage to the no go stage. And I hope you get every one of those stages, okay?
Mhm.
Because that means you're gonna live a long time. But why would you retire early? What can you do during those go-go years and even the slow-go years? Well, I have so many people that have these passions or hobbies, and I have some of them make a job out of their passion or a
Mhm.
job out of their hobby, even after they quit their real job, if you understand what I'm saying. But
Mhm.
they like to paint or write or garden or play a musical instrument. I have a friend that lives down the street from me who's the president of Citrus College
Mhm.
in LA County, and he says one of the fastest growing student population segments are people who are in their 60s
Mm.
because they're going back to learn something they want to learn.
Mhm.
Travel. We talked about Europe. People want to travel. I
Yep.
tell you what, it's better to travel in your 60s than in your 80s. I'll
Yes.
guarantee you that. So, if there's a comedian who's got a saying that says, get her done. And
Mhm.
if you've got a bucket list, if you've got those places you want to go, I was speaking last month to a dear friend of mine. He was the senior pastor at the church where I was a youth pastor in Odessa, Texas for 7 years. And he was asking me because my wife and I 4 years ago got to go to Bora Bora. I mean,
Mm.
it was my wife's bucket list, top of the list. And
I'm with
he
her on that. That's on mine.
mine too. And he was saying, uh, his wife's name is Freddie, and he said, Freddie and I have always wanted to go to Bora Bora, but now we wake up and we're 87 and 88 years old and we don't even travel more than about 50 miles. Tell me about Bora Bora. Well,
Mm.
you need to go to Bora Bora rather than have somebody tell you about Bora Bora.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yep.
And you get to those no-go years and you can't do it. So you better do it in your go-go years and spending quality time with your friends and family.
Mhm.
You never know. And in that trip where I saw my former pastor, I also saw another friend of mine and his wife, and I saw another friend of mine and his wife. In fact, I'd gone out there for one of those couples who were in their 80s. I went out there to see them and to perform a marriage ceremony for their 49-year-old daughter. I
Mm.
saw on that trip, I saw 7 people who were over 83 years of age. I may never see them again
Mhm.
because they're all in their no-go stage, okay? So what I'm saying is if you retire by choice, that means that you've got something you wanna do. You're
Mhm.
healthy, you've got well-being, you might wanna volunteer.
Mhm.
There's a group at a church in Anaheim where we used to attend, and they call themselves the Ninjas. It's a
Mm.
bunch of people who are retired, and they show up on Monday and take care of all of the communication cards from Sunday. On Thursday, they show up and get everything ready for the next Sunday. And so,
Mhm.
they just love it, and they're a small group. They love
Mhm.
each other. They stay with
Mhm.
each other. They care for each other when one of them gets sick or goes in the hospital. So many things like that.
Yes.
You
And
know, you can
it's really about just enjoying the fruits of your labor and being able to enjoy this season of life after you working so hard for all those years.
Well, and it doesn't mean you stop doing things. Like,
Right.
Kristen, for a year now, you've been the hostess on my radio show, and you've
Mhm.
been the host on my TV show, and I know you're gonna be, girl, a constant learner. I can call you girl because 'cause
Mhm.
I've got kids your age, okay? And, people don't stop pursuing education. Like I said,
Yep.
my friend who's the president of a college, and start your own little business and have a little
Mhm.
business, and you don't have to make money at it probably anymore, and start a job where you can be flexible and you can still travel and do the other things. So
Yep.
there's so many things, but let me tell you the biggest reason people don't, number 1, retire maybe earlier than they think they can,
Mhm.
or number 2, when they do retire, they sit and they live in fear. Here's the biggest
Mm.
reason. The biggest reason you do that, if you're out there and you're listening to me, you think you might be able to retire, but you're not sure. You're trying to get just a little bit more, gain a little bit more, a little bit more, and you don't know what a little bit more, you don't know if you've got enough
Mhm.
because you've never sat down with someone who can put together, and we call it very blatantly a retirement blueprint. Now, here's what a retirement blueprint is going to do for you. And we're going to touch on some of these things in even more in depth in the last 2 segments where we talk about how do you get yourself financially ready. So don't miss these last 2 segments. But here's what the last 2 segments in getting yourself ready is going to do. It's going to answer that question. Can I afford to retire? Will I have enough income to retire? Can I go to Venice when I'm 65, but also go to the grocery store when I'm 85?
Mhm.
Okay. That's
Mhm.
the basic core. And people sit around, Kristen, so many times and they want to retire. They've grown to not necessarily hate their job, but they really see it as a physical grind. They're just
Mhm.
tired. Some of you out there are feeling what I'm saying right now. And you think, well, could I retire? I hope I have enough money. Hope doesn't work as a great strategy in retirement because here's what hope strategy does. When you retire and you've taken a chance on what you don't know for sure will last you for 20, 25, or 30 years, and you're using the hope strategy, here's what happens. You retire and you have passions, you have hobbies, you want to travel. You want to go visit your kids who've moved out of state and spend extended time with them.
Hmm.
You want to volunteer and give back, and you want to pay the tuition and take another class or pursue some kind of venture that's going to cost you a little money, and you're so afraid to do it, and you sit there during the go-go years and you do nothing
Hmm.
because you're sitting here in your 60s and you're afraid you're going to run out of money with your hope strategy in the 80s.
Yep.
Okay. We're talking real life here. Okay. We're
Hmm.
talking half the people who respond to this program and come in, you found yourself or you're in this exact mode right now. You want to retire. You maybe want to do it earlier. You're not sure if you have enough money or you're going to have enough income to last for the rest of your life. So you sit there and you either keep working and you're miserable, or you retire and your hope strategy causes you to be like a turtle and do nothing.
Mm.
This is where us building you a retirement blueprint can give you that contentment to go enjoy your go-go years. Now, I've painted the picture. You've got to respond. You've got to call us and get on our schedule and come in. We can build a retirement blueprint. We can show you what your plans look like, and you'll never have one until you call in.
Having that complimentary retirement blueprint could make all the difference for you. But as Tom said, you have to pick up the phone and call. And that number to claim yours is 888-930-5609. Again, this is for no cost, no charge, no obligation. It's simply an invitation to have a conversation with one of the all-star advisors of Mosley Wealth Management to see how they can help and serve you. We'll be back with more on today's show right after this.
Is having $1 million enough to retire? For years, many have considered this to be the goal amount to have for retirement savings, $1 million. But that's the $1 million question. Is that enough for today's modern retiree? Are you sure you've saved enough for a 25 or 30-year retirement? Are you concerned about covering large expenses, including taxes and long-term care? If so, you're not alone. But there is a solution. With a comprehensive financial plan, you can take control of your finances to help you achieve your long-term goals. At Mosley Wealth Management, let us help you work towards peace of mind by implementing a complete retirement strategy. Call Tom Mosley and the team of Mosley Wealth Management right away to receive your complimentary, comprehensive written financial plan. 888-930-5609. That's 888-930-5609. Get your retirement right on the money with Tom Mosley. Call 888-930-5609 for your no-cost appointment. 888-930-5609.
Welcome back to Right on the Money with Tom Mosley. He is the founder and president of Mosley Wealth Management, and I'm your host, Kristin Oakley. Today, we are talking about what to do, what kind of plan you need to have in place in case you need to retire now, either by force or by choice. And, you know, we've been talking in the last segment about retiring early by choice, which can be such a rewarding decision. But with that can also come some unique financial challenges that people need to plan for and consider when they are trying to decide, hey, can I go ahead and retire? Am I going to be okay? So let's now talk about some of those major financial concerns, Tom, for both individuals and couples who are considering an early retirement and some of the solutions to those challenges.
Okay, I'm going to try to get through in this section and the next section, just so you're listening, 14 different ones, and I'll touch on all of them. I may go into depth more on some than the others, but whether you're retiring by force, by choice, or retiring sometime in the future, everybody can listen to this. If you're 25 years old, these are the things that you need to that you won't even remember probably, but these are the things that you're going to need to address in retirement to make sure that you never run out of money in retirement. The number one thing is you've got to consider the fact that longevity risk is a problem. You say, what's longevity? Living too long.
Yep.
I mean, people are living longer and longer and longer. And even with COVID, even with a massive number of people who passed away in COVID, there's an element there where the age length is just getting longer and longer and longer. And particularly if you find yourself really addressed in that second segment we did on retiring by choice and retiring a little bit earlier than normal,
Mhm.
then what you do is you put more stress on yourself from a longevity standpoint. Let me give you a case in point. About 3 weeks ago, I met with a couple in my office. He 54, she 53.
Mhm.
Both of them had come to an end of their job. They're very, very high income earners. They were able already to put away $4.9 million for retirement. I mean, we gave some numbers last show about where people are in retirement, and man, 4.9 is just awesome for
Mhm.
what people have in retirement. I mean, they're
Right.
doing well,
Mhm.
but they're 55 and 50 or 54 and 53. They're not even 55 yet.
Right.
So here's the issue. Your retirement plans sometimes can't be tapped until
Mhm.
59 and a half.
Right. Otherwise, you
And
have that early withdrawal penalty.
right, and Social Security, which they have a very healthy Social Security. It's 8 years away for him
Mhm.
and 9 years away for her. And Medicare, oh, wow, yeah, health insurance.
Right.
Medicare is still 11 years away and 12 years away.
Yep.
So all of those, you might say, assistance programs that give your retirement bundle a little help because longevity is there. And yeah, I'm still talking about living into your 80s and 90s, but I'm talking about if you retire when you're 70 and you're going to live to your 90, wow, 20 years is a long time. But
Mhm.
if you retire at 54 and you're going to live until you're 90, you look at it, you do the math, 36 years, that's more than they've spent in their working career.
Mhm.
Okay. So more power to them. So what else came into effect? Well, their budget came into effect because they still have a mortgage because they're 54 and 53 and
Right.
because they're still paying off student loan debts and here and there and others, they're still in the throes of life, if you
Mhm.
understand what I'm saying. They needed $20,000 a month to survive,
To maintain their current lifestyle.
to maintain their current lifestyle and to pay off the things that they had to pay off. So
Right.
there's the stress.
Yep.
There's the consideration. When you retire by choice, in your plan, you have to consider longevity. Now we're talking about living a long time.
Mhm.
I want to address, like I do all the time, all of you who think you're only going to live a short time because your parents only lived a short time.
Mm.
Okay, you can't count on that. I have
Mm.
couples sit in front of me at least once or twice a month, and one of them will say to the other, "Well, she's going to outlive me. Well, he's going to outlive me because of my health situation." So many times the quote healthy one passes before the quote unhealthy one.
Yep.
So, healthcare and healthcare costs, that's the second thing you need to consider.
Mhm.
Not only are you going to live a long time, but you don't know who's going to pass away first. You don't know about healthcare costs. Have
Mhm.
you reached Medicare? This couple that's 54 and 53 have not. 65 is the first number you can hit that. Early retirees, you're going to have to pay when you're in your 60s.
Mhm.
If you're getting a normal health insurance policy, I know because I have group health insurance even for my own employees, and my employees that are over 55, I'm paying over $1,000 a month for everybody over 55 for their health insurance. So
Mhm.
those premiums are really up there.
Yep.
And you're going to have to hold those and handle those on your own until you get to 65. You say you're being negative, Tom. No, I'm not. I'm just pointing out that yes, you can retire by choice, like we talked about in segment 2, or whenever you retire and you retire before 65. Where's the health care coming from? How are you going to cover yourself? Are you going to get a $1,000 a month policy and then have a $10,000 deductible? You may want to consider Cobra. And I know some of you just choked on your breakfast when I said that, but because you've looked into Cobra and you see
Mhm.
how high it is, but it might be much better coverage than you can get as an individual standalone.
Right.
So the first two risks, longevity, living a long time, the healthcare cost, all of those things are there.
Well, and in that story too, Tom, I think that was the perfect story to set up this entire conversation because based on their age and stage of life and how much they're needing to sustain their income, this is where a lot of people don't have a solid plan in place looking at their lump sum, and we say this all the time, it's not about your lump sum, it's about your income. How are you going to sustain that lifestyle? What is the withdrawal rate? As you think about starting to withdraw from these accounts that you have accumulated in your lumber yard, in your lump sum, it's important to think through these things, because it could be that someone, even if they've got millions of dollars saved, they could run out of money without the right strategy in place.
No, they really could. And talking about income, really, income spans, what do I have for income? Social Security is involved in that, and inflation has to be involved in income
Yes.
too,
Yep.
because it's got to be going up. So let's talk about that. If you prescribe to the normal broker mentality of just build up a big lumber yard and take 4% a year, you also, if they're going to run that Monte Carlo simulation, you need to have them run and show you the last few pages that show you your probability of success.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to see that Monte Carlo model for guaranteed sustained income for the rest of your life has a 81%, 86%, maybe in the
Mm-hmm.
90s, but makes you feel a little bit better. But if I'm 93% possible of success, there's a 7% possibility of failure. If I'm 85% possibility that I won't run out of money, that's a 15% possibility I will. And if
Mm-hmm.
I'm in the 75% range, there's a 25% chance I'll run out of money. That's the Monte Carlo simulation. That's the leave all the money in the market and just take 4% a year. Your withdrawal rate is crucial. And you say, how would you fix that? Many of our people, when we give them the choice, listen to that, we give them the choice. Do you want to leave it at risk, or do you want to pass that risk of you're having lifetime income and sometimes increasing income in some of the options that are available? You can do that not through the variable annuity that everybody hates, but through a fixed indexed annuity. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, you can have guaranteed income for as long as you live, if you're married, for as long as your spouse lives, and get a load of the last one, even after you run out of your money.
Mm-hmm.
If you run out of money in the lumber yard, you're out of luck.
Yeah.
Okay. You're on a fixed income, you're on Social Security. But if you will never run out of income in a fixed indexed annuity that's tied to an insurance company, insurance, yes, it's insurance against you running out of money in retirement. People don't have as many pensions as they used to have. It's a
Mm-hmm.
private pension type approach to your income, your Social Security. And the timing of your Social Security is important, whether you're retiring by force, by choice, or just in the future. Inflation, you've got to have more money. We know what that word means now.
Yep.
All of those are crucial.
Yes.
And here's one more thing. The lumber yard itself, if you just leave your money all at risk in the market, which we don't recommend, okay? But if you leave all of your money at risk in the market, what happens when you're still invested like a 25-year-old, but you're 75 years of age? And the
Mm-hmm.
market goes down 50%, and you reach 73 and you have to take out required minimum distributions, and the government loves that because you're already getting enough money from other things, but required minimum distributions just pushes you into a higher tax bracket. You say,
Mm-hmm.
Tom, stop. You're hurting my head. Okay. And this is what I try to stress with people who are out there and they're doing it themselves. My 7-year-old granddaughter, Coco, wants to know, she wants, Poppy, can I drive your car? I mean, she even asked me that. I mean, and when my dad used to have a little farm and we'd go there. And when my kids were little, I'd sit them on my lap on the field, in the back
Mm-hmm.
of the field, and they could drive the truck around.
Right.
Okay. But a 7-year-old doesn't need to be driving a car because they just aren't experienced with it.
Yep.
And some of you are sitting out there and you've got a lot of money because you used the 401k and you were frugal, you put the money away, but now you're looking at retirement, you're looking at a plan, you don't want hope to be your strategy, and you need to consider longevity, your healthcare costs, your income for life, your Social Security, inflation, and what that's going to do to you. What am I doing with my investments? What's going to happen in my taxes? All of that is addressed when we build you for free a retirement blueprint. okay? But you've got to call in and ask for it.
That complimentary retirement blueprint, this is exactly what Tom is talking about. It's comprehensive, it's holistic, and best of all, it's personalized for you and your individual situation. To claim yours, all you need to do is pick up the phone and call 888-930-5609. When we come back, we'll continue this important conversation of financial considerations for retiring now. Stay with us. We'll be back after this. What concerns you most when it comes to retirement? Is it the fear of running out of money, the uncertainty of market volatility, or maybe it's healthcare costs as you grow older? At Mosley Wealth Management, we'll work together to develop a comprehensive retirement plan for you that is designed to help protect and grow your wealth while also aligning with your lifestyle goals. Call Tom Mosley of Right on the Money and Mosley Wealth Management at 888-930-5609 to learn how we can help you work towards achieving financial security and peace of mind in retirement. Our team can help you navigate the complexities of retirement planning with confidence with a detailed written plan for retirement. Call Tom Mosley and the team at Mosley Wealth Management for your complimentary retirement blueprint. 888-930-5609. That's 888-930-5609.
More Right on the Money with Tom Mosley right after this. Get your own no-cost retirement plan review at 888-930-5609. That's 888-930-5609.
Welcome back to Right on the Money with Tom Mosley. I'm your host, Kristin Oakley. And Tom, what a great conversation we are having talking about the financial considerations for retiring now. And, we talked earlier in the show, what happens if you're retired by force? You have to go ahead and retire by force. But we also talked about what if you want to retire early by choice? And there's so many benefits to doing that. A lot of folks are wanting to do that. But with that comes a lot of these financial considerations that have to be planned for. I know we have 14 to try to get through. We want to talk next about tax considerations because this is something that really does set you and the team of Mosley Wealth Management apart. The fact that you all engage in this strategic tax planning conversation with your clients. So what tax considerations need to be thought through when someone is retiring early?
That's a great question, and a little bit of background on myself and all of my advisors. We have all at least attended the 2-day workshop of Ed Slott, and we attend that about every other year. So we stay up to date with any changes on IRAs and 401ks. Just in July, a major ruling on inherited IRAs came out, and the laws are changing at all times. The IRS is changing rules at all times, and I'll tell you the way the tree leans right now, Kristin. The tree leans toward more and quicker and costlier taxation of IRAs and 401ks. It's almost like our country is 34 or 35 trillion dollars in debt, and they need our money, and they need it sooner rather than later.
And they're making it very, very obvious with all these rule changes, right?
Right. Unfortunately, and I'll just say this, and I don't want to get political, and I considered doing a show on this, but I'm afraid that so many people are so divided right now that it would be drastic as far as the response on one side or the other. And I'm just going to tell you that if you look up the difference in the two major parties in what taxes will be in the future if we go one vote, or what taxes will be in the future if we go a different vote. You owe it to yourself to look that up on your own and to see what will happen. And just this month, we had a very, very negative report on job growth, which is the normal result of inflation. And we haven't really seen that in the first 3 years of this inflation bubble that we're in. And, governmental numbers, I want to say this lovingly, I don't trust them at all. I mean, when you go to the grocery store, you know what inflation is. When you go to the gas pump, you know what inflation is. When you go to book a hotel, when you go on vacation in retirement, you know what inflation is. So they can tell us it's 2% and they can give us 2.5% on our Social Security and say that's what the inflation rate was. We know it's more than that. It's bigger than that. And
Mhm.
so when you're needing all these things, and all of these things are coming down, and if job growth slows down, then we're probably going to slow the economy. But I'll also tell you this: when what slows the economy is when businesses are taxed at a higher rate.
Mhm.
And what frees the economy, go back and look through history. What grows the economy is when business are taxed at a lower rate.
Mhm.
So it might sound good to just soak all those filthy rich people and soak all those businesses with a higher tax. But if we're not careful, we're going to tax ourselves out of jobs.
Yep.
And I point to nothing more, and I'm getting so in the weeds here, but I point to nothing more than the $20 per hour. And yes, those kids and the people who work there work hard at these fast food restaurants, but look at what's happening. The
Mhm.
the fast food restaurant that used to employ 30 people is now employing 20 people. Okay,
Mhm.
that's just reality.
Yep.
Because when you have to pay more, I run a business myself. When you have to pay more for one employee, that keeps you from hiring an additional employee many times. So
Yep.
so be really careful. Where does tax come in? If taxes do you think taxes are going to be higher in the future or lower? You need a tax plan. There are going to be tax implications to your retirement account. I recently had a couple who came in, first time I've had this, and I don't know when. They had $1.1 million and everything in it was after tax. It had
Mhm.
already been taxed. Okay.
Wow.
But most of the time, when there's 100% in one or the other, it's 100% in an IRA, in a 401k, in a 403b, in a SEP IRA, whatever you want to call them, those qualified plans. Almost all the time, if it's all the money or most of the money in one, it's all in something that
Yep.
still has to be taxed.
And that's why if someone has $1 million and it's in one of those types of accounts, it's not all your money, and that's a hard pill to swallow.
I know, and I'm the one that has to tell people that. I
Mhm.
was teaching a class in 𝗶𝗶𝗺𝗃 at the community center there a few years ago, and I just simply said, if you've got $400,000 in an IRA, it's not all your money. And this little lady was so sweet and so funny. She was sitting on the front row, and I thought she was going to jump over the table and beat me up. She was cute. She said something like, "What do you mean it's not all my money? My company never matched, and I put all the money in there and I don't
I'm
have
fully
400."
vested.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know.
Right.
And I've got $400,000 and she said, "I don't have 400,000, but she was like, "I've got $368,914." And she knew it to the
Mm.
penny, and it's all my money. Well, what she's going to find out when she starts to take it out is it's not all her money. There's going to be tax consideration. So if you retire either by force and you try to, and here's the deal: if you retire, if you're forced out before 59 and a half, you've got to be really careful that you don't move those accounts and you use those accounts the right way so that you don't get yourself not only taxation, but a 10% penalty. Okay.
Mhm.
Because taking money out of an IRA before you're 59 and a half is going to incur a 10% penalty. There are some tricks and ways you can get it out of a 401k. We can show you that before you're 59 and a half. But if you're taking it out of an IRA, you're going to pay a penalty before that. So tax considerations, particularly if you're forced out or you retire early or whenever you retire, you've got to consider the taxation.
Absolutely. And that example that you shared of the couple who came in who were really the inspiration for this conversation we're having, ages 54, 53, want to go ahead and retire. One of the points you already touched on is that people cannot touch their retirement accounts until 59 and a half, because otherwise you will be assessed with an early withdrawal penalty of 10%. So that's another important consideration when retiring early.
One little exception in that access, and I've done it in 29 years. I've worked with a client to do it twice, and it's like I've been snake bit when I've done it because I've done
Mm.
it in 2000 before we had a 50% downturn in the market over the next 2 years. And we did it for another client in 2007 before we had a 54% downturn from September of 2007 until March of 2009. And it just really didn't work both times. It's called a 72T. Before you're running into that 72T and think that's a godsend, you need to understand with everything, there's a positive, there's a negative, there's a good, it could work out really well and it could really blow up on you.
Right. That's IRS rule 72T, right? That's where it gets its name from.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
Well, I know we only have a few minutes left, Tom, but obviously there's so many more considerations to go through. What would you like to touch on next?
You know, people in retirement, whether you're forced to retire or you think you might be forced out, if you're sitting out there driving in the car, listening at home, and you think, well, I don't know about my company. I mean, we're not hiring anybody and they could start laying off. Then you need to start looking at your debt. You need to start paying out off your debt. It's not, can I go take another vacation right now? It might be, should I go ahead and pay off some debt? You also need to build an emergency fund. Let me tell you something. If you get laid off at 51 and you don't have any money around for income, that's an emergency. You need to build up an adequate emergency fund. There's some money markets at banks right now that are paying some healthy accounts for money that's in an emergency fund. You also need to take a look at your lifestyle and your spending. I call that a budget, and say, what are we spending things on? Do we really need that? You might be, I like to about every 3 months go through all of my credit cards and my checking account to see what the drips are. Okay. Because a lot of times Apple's turned on for $4.99 here.
Right.
You got that subscription over here. You only wanted to watch that one show, but you had to sign up for the subscription. And you need a prescription. I almost said the wrong thing there, because when you think about it, but you just create those spending habits. You don't even know what you're spending.
Right.
Listen, estate planning's involved. You might want to work part-time, long-term care. So many issues go into building a real retirement plan. And so many people, when they come in and we start addressing, and all of these things, there's 14 of them we mentioned in last segment and this segment. And there's so many things that are out there and many more options. And people are invariably, there's some people that sit back and try to be cool and say, yeah, I knew all of these. Very few people know all of these. Very few people know all the tricks, know all the things. It's like when I try to change a pipe underneath my sink in the bathroom, you can pretty much count on a water leak, because I've got like 5 tools. I've got a screwdriver, a bigger screwdriver, a wrench, and a hammer. A hammer will solve almost anything when you get frustrated, okay?
Right.
But it won't fix the pipe.
Right.
When the plumber comes in to fix it, they open up a whole box of tools, and they've got this little special tool for this and little special tool for that. We've got the special tools to build you a retirement plan that'll address every one of these things that we've talked about. Your only job is to call us, come in, be open, be transparent, be honest with us, listen to us, listen to the options we present, and if you like it, we'll work together.
Tom, I think that's a beautiful way to wrap up today's show, because for all of you listening, we realize that you might not be an expert in any of these things, and that's okay. You just need to be an expert in you. And then Tom and the team of Mosley Wealth Management, this is what they do day in and day out for folks. They are experts in their field, and they would love to build you your very own personalized retirement blueprint. And again, it's free. What could be better than that? So today's the day. We encourage you to pick up the phone and call 888-930-5609 to claim your very own personalized retirement blueprint. Hey, thanks so much for joining us this weekend. We appreciate you being here. Until next time, be safe, be happy, be blessed, and we look forward to being back with you next week here on Right on the Money with Tom Mosley.
Investment advisory services offered by duly registered individuals through Mosley Wealth Management Incorporated. Mosley Wealth Management and Mosley Insurance and Financial Services are affiliated companies by common ownership license number OB 61811. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal. Any references to protection, safety, or lifetime income generally refers to fixed insurance products, never securities or investments. Insurance guarantees are backed by the financial strength, claims-paying ability of the issuing carrier. This content is intended for informational and educational purposes only. It is not intended to be used as the sole basis for financial decisions, nor should it be construed as advice designed to meet the needs of an individual situation. All hypothetical examples are provided for illustrative purposes only. They do not represent real-life scenarios. Mosley Insurance and Financial Services, nor its agents or representatives, may give tax or legal advice. Individuals should consult with a qualified professional for guidance before making any investment decisions. Our firm is not affiliated with or endorsed by the U.S. government or any governmental agency. Some of the information provided may be from one or more third parties, which we believe to be reliable sources, but accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed by Mosley Insurance and Financial Services.